Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaks with US President Donald Trump. The leaders review progress in India-US Comprehensive Global Strategic Partnership, also discuss regional and global developments. United States seizes massive oil tanker off Venezuela. Caracas accuses Washington of blatant theft. Russia says all misunderstandings with the United States over Ukraine resolved following Putin-Witkoff meeting earlier this month. EU prepares for Ukraine's accession. Bangladesh to hold national elections on February 12th, first poll since former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's ouster. Architects of AI named as Time magazine's Person of the Year. Time cites 2025 as the year when potential of artificial intelligence roared into view with no turning back. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a telephone conversation today with US President Donald Trump. The two leaders reviewed the progress in India-US Comprehensive Global Strategic Partnership and expressed satisfaction at the steady strengthening of bilateral cooperation across all domains. Prime Minister Modi and President Trump underlined the importance of sustaining momentum in shared efforts to enhance bilateral trade. The leaders also exchanged views on expanding cooperation in critical technologies, energy, defense and security, and other priority areas that are central to implementation of the India-US Compact, thus catalyzing opportunities for military partnership, accelerated commerce and technology for the 21st century. The leaders also discussed various regional and global developments and agreed to work closely to address shared challenges and advance common interests. The two leaders agreed to remain in touch. Prime Minister Modi will be on a three-nation visit from December 15 to 18th. Prime Minister will visit Jordan, Ethiopia and Oman. In the first leg, Prime Minister Modi will visit Jordan at the invitation of King Abdullah II from December 15 to 16th. During the visit, Prime Minister Modi will meet King Abdullah bin Al Hussein. Both leaders will review the entire gamut of relations between India and Jordan and exchange perspectives on regional issues. The visit marks the 75th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic ties between the two countries. In the second leg, Prime Minister Modi will pay state visit to Ethiopia at the invitation of Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed Ali, from December 16th to 17th. This will be PM Modi's first visit to Ethiopia. During the visit, Prime Minister will hold wide-ranging discussions with Ethiopia leader on all aspects of India-Ethiopia bilateral ties. In the final leg, Prime Minister Modi will visit Oman from 17 to 18 December at the invitation of Sultan Haitham bin Tariq. This will be the second visit of Prime Minister Modi to Oman. The visit will mark 70 years of establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries. The visit will be an opportunity for both sides to comprehensively review bilateral partnership. In other news, amid signs of improvement in IndiGo operations nationwide, India's aviation regulator has stepped up oversight after days of massive disruptions. Here's more.
With conditions stabilizing, India's aviation watchdog, DGCA officials on Thursday began closely monitoring IndiGo's operations from the airline's headquarters. The team is tracking refunds, scheduling, and other processes and will submit daily updates to the regulator. IndiGo, meanwhile, has announced fresh compensation for severely impacted passengers. The airline will offer 10,000 rupees travel vouchers valid for any IndiGo journey over the next 12 months. This is in addition to the mandatory 5,000 rupees to 10,000 compensation under government guidelines for flights cancelled within 24 hours of departure. The DGCA has also summoned IndiGo CEO Peter Elbers for a second day on Friday, even as he appeared before the regulator on Thursday. This comes after IndiGo cancelled thousands of flights in recent days. On the ground, disruptions continued, with the airline cancelling over 100 flights on Thursday, including 60 from Bengaluru and 18 from Ahmedabad, despite initially planning to operate more than 1,900 flights for the day. As cancellations persist, the DGCA is keeping IndiGo on a tight watch until the airline gets back on track. Bureau Report, DD India.
So news from the Parliament now. Marathon debates in crucial legislative business marked another busy day in the ongoing winter session of Parliament. Both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha were adjourned to meet again at 11 a.m. on Friday, but not before taking up significant discussions from appropriation of funds to the electoral reforms and the 150th anniversary of Vande Mataram. DD India correspondent gets us more from the Parliament.
On a day defined by intensive deliberations, both the lower house, Lok Sabha, and the upper house, Rajya Sabha, wrapped up proceedings on Thursday. In the Lok Sabha, members took up the appropriation bills, enabling the government to withdraw funds from the Consolidated Fund of India. The discussion preceded the question hour and zero hour. In the Rajya Sabha, the upper house began the day by concluding the historic debate on 150 years of Vande Mataram. Leader of the House, J.P. Nadda, in his closing remarks, underlined the enduring legacy of the national song and its role in India's freedom struggle.
जब हम वंदे मातरम की बात करते हैं, तो हम यह मानते हैं कि यह देश की आत्मा को जगाने का मंत्र है। हम ये मानते हैं कि ये राष्ट्र का पुनर्जागरण है, और हम यह भी मानते हैं कि ये राष्ट्र के पुनर्निर्माण का एक तरीके से आह्वान है। और इसलिए यह मंत्र हम सब लोगों को प्रेरित भी करता है और हमारे को अपनी संस्कृति से जोड़ने का सुअवसर भी देता है और उसके लिए प्रेरणा भी देता है।
Nadda also referred to the changes introduced by Jawaharlal Nehru, noting how the former Prime Minister had altered the text of what he described as a sacred song.
कांग्रेस पार्टी और कांग्रेस पार्टी के चलते चलने वाली सरकार के सरदार जवाहरलाल नेहरू ही थे, और ये जिम्मेवारी लेनी भी चाहिए। जब आपको खुशी हो तो आप उसका श्रेय लें, जब आप मुसीबत में आए तो आप श्रेय बदल डालें और आप कहें कि इसके लिए तो ये भी जिम्मेवार थे, ये भी जिम्मेवार थे, ये भी जिम्मेवार थे। आपको जब सूट करता है तो आप नेहरूवियन एज की चर्चा करते हैं, जब आपको सूट नहीं करता है तो आप सुभाष चंद्र बोस को ले आते हैं, तब आप गुरु रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर को ले आते हैं, गुरुवर रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर को ले आते हैं। यह ठीक नहीं है।
With that debate concluded, the Rajya Sabha shifted its focus to another major national issue, electoral reforms in India. The House has allocated 10 hours for the debate, which began today and will continue tomorrow. Members across party lines shared their views on strengthening transparency, voter rolls, and accountability in the electoral process. The winter session has witnessed back-to-back marathon discussions in both houses this week, reflecting the sharpened focus of both the government and the opposition on issues ranging from national identity to democratic reforms and financial appropriations. As both houses reconvene at 11 a.m. on Friday, debates on electoral reforms and legislative business are expected to continue with equal intensity. Dibyendu Mondal's report for DD India.
Niti Aayog has released a new report outlining opportunities and growth potential in India's corporate bond market. According to the report, the market could exceed 100 to 120 trillion rupees by 2030, becoming a major pillar of the country's financial system and attracting both domestic and global capital. Niti Aayog CEO BVR Subramaniam said the recommendations go beyond incremental reforms and form a comprehensive strategy to make India's corporate bond market globally competitive and more inclusive. Also, implemented in a phased and coordinated manner, these reforms are expected to remove short-term hurdles and build institutional depth needed for long-term sustainable growth.
Economic growth and efficiency in mediating our savings into investment, we need a very deep corporate bond market, and I think that's what this is trying to explain. He's also pointed out what are the challenges. There are problems with regulators. There are multiple regulators. Each is looking at it, certainly from a prudential point of view, but maybe there is greater need for coordination and a concerted effort to deepen bond markets. There are also issues with credit rating. There's a lot of credit rating that happens for equity. You know, you've got CRISIL and ICRA and all do that. How good is our rating of the bond markets? Maybe we need to have better ways of rating our things.
Still to come on DD India Newshour. Asian Development Bank raises India's growth forecast. Trump launches a $1 million gold card immigration visas. US B-52 bombers join Japan in show of strength after Chinese and Russian drills.
Dr. Shashi Tharoor, welcome to Moscow. How crucial was Russia's support in India's early decades?
Mr. Khrushchev, in particular, opened up Indo-Soviet relations phenomenally. They helped India in everything from setting up the Bhilai steel plant to the whole business of cooperating with India's space programs. All sorts of things happened. The extraordinary success of the BrahMos missile. The Bra comes from the Indian Brahma and the Mos comes from Moscow.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. The Asian Development Bank has raised India's growth forecast for the current fiscal to 7.2%, driven by robust domestic consumption. India's rural economy is also witnessing a broad-based revival marked by rising incomes, stronger consumption, and improved financial behavior.
India is once again proving why it's the world's fastest growing major economy, powering ahead even as global markets face turbulence. In a big vote of confidence, the Asian Development Bank has upgraded India's growth forecast for 2025-26 from 6.5% to 7.2%. The jump comes on the back of a stronger third quarter and recent tax cuts that have boosted consumption on the ground. And what's fueling this rise? India's rural engine. NABARD's latest Rural Economic Conditions and Sentiment Survey shows a broad revival, rising incomes, higher spending, and stronger financial discipline. Rural income growth is now at its highest ever recorded. 80% of rural households reported higher consumption compared with last year. Consumption now accounts for 67.3% of monthly income. 42.2% of households experienced income growth, the strongest performance across all survey rounds. Around 29.3% of households increased capital investment this year. India's economy remains the standout performer. GDP grew 8.2% in the July-September quarter, its fastest pace in 6 quarters, propelled by festival season demand, stronger factory output, and a robust services sector. In emerging technologies, India has become a favorite destination with recent commitment by US tech giant Microsoft's of $17.5 billion in over 4 years to accelerate India's artificial intelligence ambitions.
From 2010 and onwards, I have seen huge investments coming into India. And now they are part of this drive really to build up Viksit Bharat, The most recent announcement about huge investments from the American tech giants is just another sign of how important India is and how important India will be to all of us in the future. India is a place where you have to invest, transfer technology, generate jobs, but also focusing on skilling of thousands of people who will need a better livelihood.
In another good news for the Indian economy, global rating agency Fitch has also raised India's GDP growth forecast for FY26 to 7.4%, citing stronger than expected economic momentum and robust domestic demand. A series of measures rolled out since June 2024, including direct and indirect tax relief, sustained public investment, and enhanced credit and incentive support for MSMEs, has further reinforced domestic demand. With consumption remaining strong and policy support continuing, India has become the single most important factor lifting the growth outlook for developing Asia in 2025. Tripti Tripathi's report, DD India.
At the Italy-India Business Forum held in Mumbai on Thursday, Italy's Deputy Prime Minister Antonio Tajani and India's Union Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal jointly emphasized accelerating economic collaboration across key sectors. Minister Piyush Goyal spoke about the deep bond shared between the two nations, emphasized close cooperation between India and Italy.
It's been great working with you, whether it's to strengthen the strategic partnership between Italy and India, whether it's to cross the EU-India Free Trade Agreement over the finishing line, whether it's to work together for co-designing, co-manufacturing, co-creating business opportunities, whether it's to promote investments between the two countries. In every respect, I've found a true friend, a true guide in Mr. Tajani.
The Prime Minister of Italy, Antonio Tajani, said that he believes in India and wishes to work more closely with the country.
I believe in India. India, in our action plan for trade, our goal is to have 700 billion euro in export before the end of 2027. Italian export is going very well. Now we are the number 4 in the world, and we want to work more with India.
India's Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal addressed a joint press conference in Mumbai on Thursday along with Deputy Prime Minister of Italy. Union Minister Goyal highlighted India-Italy's vision for a joint strategic plan to boost trade between the two countries. During the press conference, both Italy and India shared optimistic views on bolstering economic cooperation.
Together, we have a joint strategic plan, 2025 to 2029, through which we are committed to promote business, to promote technology collaborations, and to bring investments to both countries. We have discussed through this forum about setting up a startup bridge, a platform opening new pathways for startups, for deep tech innovators, for our technology and talent to work together between Italy and India.
Deputy Prime Minister of Italy, Antonio Tajani, said besides economic agreement, Italy and India also resonate on stability and peace cooperation.
Our goal is to achieve 20 billion euro every year before import-export before 2029. It is important also to work for peace, for stability. It's an agreement between India and Italy. Is not only an economic agreement, it's also a political agreement. We want the stability.
Let's now look at the updates on the peace efforts to end the conflict in Ukraine. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said US President Donald Trump had been sent a proposal on territorial concessions Ukraine is ready to make to end this war against Russia. Merz said the proposal was sent after he and other European leaders had spoken on phone with President Trump on Wednesday. Russia says there are no misunderstandings with the US over Ukraine anymore.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said Thursday that US President Donald Trump had been sent a proposal on territorial concessions Ukraine is ready to make to end conflict with Russia.
We suggested to him that we finalize the documents together with the American government over the weekend. There is a proposal that he was not yet aware of when we spoke on the phone because it had not yet been sent to the Americans. We did that late yesterday afternoon.
Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky said he had discussed plans for Ukraine's reconstruction with US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and other senior US officials. The talks with Scott Bessent focused on an economic document. On Tuesday, Zelensky had said Ukraine and its partners are working on 3 documents to end conflict. Reconstruction plan for Ukraine is one of them.
The first is a security document on security guarantees for Ukraine with the United States, and the second is an economic document on reconstruction and joint investments. Today, we worked specifically on the economic document.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Thursday that all misunderstandings with the United States over Ukraine had been resolved following a meeting earlier this month between President Vladimir Putin and US envoy Steve Witkoff.
This is a very important outcome because there was a certain pause after Anchorage. Now here, in our negotiations with the Americans on the Ukraine issue, I personally believe that the misunderstandings and miscommunications have been resolved.
On the other hand, putting additional pressure on Zelensky, US President Donald Trump expressed concern on that Ukraine had not had an election in a long time.
And they do say, you know, when are they, people are asking this question, when do they have an election? Are they going to have an election? Or are they going to just keep it going like this? So I think it's time to get that war settled. And I think it's a war that can be settled. But it takes two to tango.
While, in response, Zelensky urged other countries, including the United States, not to apply pressure on the issue. He added that he had discussed with Ukraine's parliament legal and other issues linked to the possibility of holding an election. Bureau Report, DD India.
And European Union is moving ahead with technical preparations for Ukraine's accession, despite Hungary blocking formal talks. EU officials met on Thursday in Lviv for flag ceremonies, roundtable discussions, and news conference on the next steps for Ukraine's EU integration. Danish Minister Marie Bjerre said EU is front-loading all the technical work, so the enlargement process continues.
There's one country, Hungary, still blocking for formally opening, and they are still blocking. We have not been able to lift that blockade, but we have taken another approach that we are now front-loading all the technical work.
Israel said on Thursday that Hamas will be disarmed as part of the US-sponsored peace plan for Gaza after top leader from the Islamist movement suggested a weapons freeze. The statement followed remarks from Hamas leader Khaled Meshal, who said the group is open to temporary weapons freeze but rejects full disarmament, which is a key demand in the US peace plan for Gaza. An Israeli official said 20-point plan leaves no future role for Hamas, adding that the group would be disarmed and Gaza fully demilitarized. A new immigration initiative from the Trump administration is making headlines. It's called Gold Card Visa Program, a multi-million-dollar pathway to US residency and even citizenship. Supporters say it will help America retain top global talent, while critics argue it unfairly favors the wealthy. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay brings us more.
The Trump administration has officially launched the Gold Card visa program. For a fee of $1 million, now individuals can secure U.S. residency and a path to citizenship. Corporations sponsoring foreign employees will pay $2 million plus a $15,000 vetting fee to cover background checks.
We just launched the Trump Gold Card. It was about 30 minutes from now. The site goes up and all funds go to the United States government. It could be a tremendous amount of money. It'll also be able to have people like this keep, as an example, just one example, there are a lot of examples, people just buying them. It's somewhat like a green card, but with big advantages over a green card.
President Donald Trump said the initiative will help retain top talent from countries like India, China, and France. He called it a shame that international students graduating from elite American universities are forced to return home, arguing the Gold Card will allow companies to keep them in the U.S. while boosting the treasury.
It's a gift of getting somebody great coming into our country, because we think these will be some tremendous people that wouldn't be allowed to stay. You know, they graduate from college, they have to go back to India, they have to go back to China, they have to go back to France, they have to go back to wherever they came from. Very hard to stay. It's a shame. It's ridiculous things. We're taking care of that. The companies are going to be very happy.
According to the program's website, the Gold Card promises residency in record time. Applicants must pay the $1 million fee as proof they will substantially benefit the United States. Businesses face a $2 million sponsorship cost, while a non-refundable $15,000 processing fee applies to every application. A premium platinum card priced at $5 million will soon offer special tax breaks. The scheme has already sparked controversy in the United States, with critics saying it unfairly favors the wealthy, while the White House insists it will attract the best people. Officials say the Gold Card is designed to reward those who can provide significant benefits to the nation. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
The US flew nuclear-capable B-52 bombers over the Sea of Japan on Wednesday, accompanied by Japanese fighter jets, in a show of force and strength after recent Chinese and Russian military drills near Japan and South Korea. Japan's defense ministry said both countries reaffirmed their determination to prevent any attempt to change the regional status quo by force. Regional tensions have been rising over comments by Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi on how Tokyo might respond to a potential Chinese attack on Taiwan. Still to come on DD India Newshour. We'll talk about the implications of deepening tensions between the United States and Venezuela. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. United States forces have seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. President Donald Trump said, marking a sharp escalation in Washington's pressure campaign against Nicolas Maduro's government. Caracas has denounced the action, calling it an act of international piracy. The Trump administration accuses Venezuela of funneling narcotics into the U.S., has intensified efforts to isolate President Maduro in recent months.
These are dramatic visuals of the seizure of a Venezuelan oil tanker by U.S. forces. Two helicopters approaching a vessel and armed individuals in camouflage rappelling onto it.
As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening, so You'll be seeing that later, and you'll be talking about that later with some other people.
We're interested in the seizure of this tanker. What happens to the oil on this ship?
Well, we keep it, I guess.
The seizure is the first of Venezuelan oil cargo amid US sanctions that have been enforced since 2019. It is the first known action against an oil tanker since Trump ordered a massive US military buildup in the region and carried out strikes against suspected drug vessels, operations that have raised concerns among Democratic lawmakers and legal experts. In response, the Venezuelan government in a statement accused the US of blatant theft and described the seizure as an act of international piracy. It said it would denounce the incident before international bodies. Iran's embassy in Caracas condemned the action as a grave violation of international laws and norms. Meanwhile, diplomatic activities are picking up. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko on Thursday held a second meeting in 17 days with the Venezuelan ambassador to Russia. Sources say Lukashenko told the Venezuelan envoy that Maduro was welcome in Belarus. On the other hand, Venezuelan opposition leader and Nobel Prize winner Maria Corina Machado emerged to collect the Nobel Prize in Oslo after months in hiding. She voiced support for President Trump's actions. Oil futures rose following news of the seizure. After trading in negative territory, Brent crude futures rose 27 cents or 0.4% to settle at $62.21 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures gained 21 cents. The Trump administration does not recognize Maduro as Venezuela's legitimate president. Besides Maduro, Colombian President Gustavo Petro is on Donald Trump's radar due to escalating tensions over drug trafficking and migration policies, leading to implicit threats of military action and diplomatic standoffs. Bureau Report, DD India.
And to talk about the US Venezuela tensions, joining me is Ambassador Mohan Kumar, former senior diplomat and Director General of Motwani Jadeja Institute of American Studies at Jindal Global University. Ambassador Kumar, good evening and welcome. What do you make of the latest escalation in the US Venezuela tensions? Boarding a foreign ship seems unusual. The focus also apparently shifting from drugs to oil.
Thank you very much for having me. I think you'll have to situate the current action against the backdrop of the national security strategy, which was just issued by the United States government a couple of days ago, in which, much to everyone's surprise, the main focus has been the Western Hemisphere, where the United States believes that from the Western Hemisphere, it is suffering in terms of illegal migration, in terms of drugs, and in terms of narco-terrorism. So it has been actually foreshadowed in the national security strategy that the United States will henceforth not tolerate these kind of threats that emerge from the Western Hemisphere to its own self, that is the US. And we have heard about fentanyl and the rest of it. Venezuela has come in for special attention. As you mentioned, there is this oil, but there is also this issue of the US for a long time, even the previous administration have not considered Maduro as the legitimate leader of Venezuela. So you have an intersection of drugs, oil, illegal migration, national security, plus politics. So it's a combustible mixture of all these issues. And obviously, at the same time, you also have an opposition leader from Venezuela receiving the Nobel Peace Prize in Oslo.
Right.
So you have a combination of all these factors, frankly, and that makes the situation extremely toxic. But I think the US also wants to set an example for the other countries in the region that US will not tolerate countries which actually allegedly export drugs, illegal migrants, narco-terrorists. So I think they want to fix this issue once for all. Whether they will succeed or not is anybody's guess. But I think I see this now as potentially a national security issue, frankly, for the United States.
Right. Ambassador Kumar, there have been strikes against, as you mentioned, more than 20 boats allegedly carrying narcotics in the Caribbean and the Pacific Ocean. But the legality of these actions by the Trump administration, given that they took place in the so-called international waters, appear in the grey.
That is arguable. You're quite right about it. But it's also true that there is an international UN treaty which actually says all ships, even on high seas, should be able to have an automatic identification system, AIS as it is called.
Okay.
Now, with regard to this particular oil tanker, which is called Skipper, this Skipper was sanctioned by the US Treasury Department in 2019, as far back as 2019, by the previous administration for illegal running of oil. That is, sanctions have been imposed on Venezuela by the US, and despite that, this ship, which is allegedly again owned by a Russian magnate, has been running illegal oil supplies for Iran and for Hezbollah, arguably, and other people in the Middle East. So this Skipper oil tanker did not give out its correct location. So there is a bit of gray area here, because the US will argue that this ship was under sanctions and that it did not indicate its current or exact location.
Amidst these developments, what is at stake for President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela? He says that President Trump is seeking to overthrow his government and is in fact eyeing Venezuelan oil in the name of fight against drug trafficking.
I think it's clear to me that he's fighting a political battle of his life. Very clear. Because there is also, as I said, the opposition leader who has been given a Nobel Prize in Oslo. So it's clear to me that he is facing tremendous political headwinds, and that the election in which he was elected has been accused to be stolen. There are accusations that he has stolen the election. So in the midst of all this, I would say that his political future is very much in doubt, frankly.
Right, and also if you could give us an insight into the past dynamics between United States and the Latin American countries over the issue of drug trafficking, because it's not just Venezuela. Just coming to how the Colombian leader, President Trump, says is next.
So there has been a problem of drug trafficking from these countries to the US, and it is not as if the US has not tried to stop it. I think there has been an enormous cooperation between United States, Mexico, for example, United States, other countries of Latin America, to really fix the problem from a supply side. And that has largely failed, frankly. As long as there is demand in the United States and in other countries, the drugs seem to find a way to come to the US, because the stakes are so high in terms of the money to be made on illegal sale of drugs, that the drug suppliers, obviously, which work in gangs, find ways in which to circumvent law, and they find their way to the US. So the US has been having this problem for a long time. Everything else has failed in terms of US police force and coast guards trying to cooperate with the Latin American countries' coast guard and police. Everything seems to have failed so far. So I would say that ever since the advent of the Trump presidency, President Trump has made it important, and he has said this is a priority for his administration, that he will fix this problem in the Western Hemisphere. And that is why, as I said, in the National Security Strategy document, the first region that is identified as a priority, in the past it used to be Indo-Pacific, it used to be other areas, but this time the first priority identified in the National Security Strategy of the United States is the Western Hemisphere. And the only reason, well, there are other reasons, I suppose, but the main reason is obviously drugs, illegal migrants, and narco-terrorism. So it is clear to me that this case relating to Maduro in Venezuela is being made a test case by President Trump, so that other countries will then be forced to cooperate with the United States.
Ambassador Kumar, finally, do you foresee direct military action by the United States against Venezuela a possibility, especially given a certain opposition and dissent from within the US Congress for President Trump?
I wouldn't rule it out, frankly. I wish I could tell you categorically that that can be ruled out. I'm aware that there are bipartisan concerns in the US where Republicans have actually supported the Democrats' bills saying military action would not be a good idea. But as you know, President Trump takes decisions when it comes to national security, and he doesn't hesitate in taking decisions of this kind. So frankly, I would not rule out President Trump taking military action against Venezuela.
On that note, Ambassador Mohan Kumar, thank you for joining us on the News Hour, sharing your perspective. Let's now take a look at other stories making news today. The Indian Coast Guard has seized a Pakistani fishing boat and apprehended 11 crew members operating illegally in Indian waters. The detainees have been handed over to Jakko Marine Police in Gujarat for further investigation. To encourage sports persons, Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah on Thursday announced that the state will implement 3% reservation in the Forest Department, 3% in Police Department and 2% in various other departments for athletes. Finance Ministry has undertaken initiatives aimed at streamlining the timeline for recruitment examinations for public sector banks and declaration of results. This includes recruitment to State Bank of India, nationalized banks and regional rural banks, besides the Department of Financial Services under Ministry of Finance. Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel on Thursday inaugurated the Regional AI Impact Conference, Gujarat chapter, a precursor to the India AI Impact Summit next year in Gandhinagar. The conference focused on people, planet and progress. The event brought together government, industry, academia and startups to drive the AI-based solutions. Still to come on DD India Newshour. India's eastern city of Kolkata gears up to welcome Argentina football superstar Lionel Messi on Friday. Two-time Olympics medalist PV Sindhu, Lakshya Sen headline Indian squad for the Badminton Asia Team Championships in China next year.
Dr. Shashi Tharoor, welcome to Moscow. How crucial was Russia's support in India's early decades?
Mr. Khrushchev, in particular, opened up Indo-Soviet relations phenomenally. They helped India in everything from setting up the Bhilai steel plant to the whole business of cooperating with India's space programs. All sorts of things happened. The extraordinary success of the BrahMos missile. The Bra comes from the Indian Brahma and the Mos comes from Moscow.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Bangladesh will vote on February 12th to elect a new government. Its first national election since the student-led uprising forced the then Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to flee the country last year. An interim administration led by Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus has since governed the South Asian country, but has been grappling with rising discontent over delays in promised reforms, fueling fresh protest and political divisions. For the 13th national parliamentary elections, voting will take place from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. in all 300 constituencies. More than 127 million voters are eligible to participate in these elections. Bangladeshi expatriates will be able to cast ballots via postal voting. Over 300,000 overseas voters have registered so far. A referendum on the implementation of the July National Charter will be held on the same day. Simultaneous scheduling of national election and referendum marks a rare political moment as the country prepares for a pivotal decision on both leadership and constitutional direction. Time magazine has named architects of artificial intelligence its Person of the Year on Thursday, citing their ability to deliver age-of-thinking machines with transformative technology. Time editor-in-chief Sam Jacobs described the architects as wowing and worrying humanity and transforming the present and transcending the possible. 2025 Person of the Year issue features a cover story that explores how AI changed the world over the year in new and sometimes frightening ways. Time magazine named then President-elect Donald Trump Person of the Year in 2024, as well as in 2016. Past winners have also included pop star Taylor Swift, Ukrainian President Zelensky, Tesla chief Elon Musk. On Thursday, Union Minister of State for External Affairs of India, Kirtivartan Singh, delivered the country's national statement at the high-level segment of 7th United Nations Environment Assembly in Kenya's Nairobi. Speaking at the meeting, the minister highlighted India's push for sustainable lifestyle, climate-resilient development and global cooperation, while reiterating India's commitment to pursuing solutions that balance ecological protection with economic progress.
India approaches UNIA 7 with the conviction that environmental solutions must remain centered on people and that global action must be guided by the principles of equity, common but differentiated responsibilities, and respective capabilities and respect for national circumstances. These principles enable ambition, foster trust, and strengthen multilateral cooperation.
Prime Minister Modi on Thursday hosted a dinner for MPs belonging to National Democratic Alliance constituents at his residence in Delhi. In a social media post, Prime Minister says, and I quote, "It was a delight to have hosted NDA MPs for dinner at 7 Lok Kalyan Marg this evening. NDA family represents shared commitment to good governance, national development and regional aspirations. Together, we will continue working to strengthen our nation's development journey in the years ahead." A military court in Pakistan has sentenced former head of Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence ISI spy agency Faiz Hamid, who served during the tenure of jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan, to 14 years in prison on charges including violation of state secrets and misuse of authority on Thursday. A field general court martial has convicted former ISI chief Lieutenant General Faiz Hamid on 4 charges that are engaging in political activities, violating Official Secrets Act, misusing authority and resources, and causing wrongful loss. The 15-month proceedings under the Pakistan Army Act ensured Hamid's full defense rights, including chosen legal representation. The court sentenced him to 14 years following required legal procedures with appeal rights intact. Hamid, a close ally of jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan since 2023, was detained in 2024 after Supreme Court probe into the top city project. Such high-ranking prosecutions are rare in Pakistan. A dumper carrying workers from Assam plunged into a deep gorge in Arunachal Pradesh's Anjao district, leading to loss of life. The tragedy occurred on the high-altitude Halyang-Chalaga road over 10,000 feet above sea level as the vehicle skidded off a narrow mountain track while heading to Tinsukia district. Rescue operations are underway, with bodies of 17 workers recovered while 4 workers are still missing. You're watching DD India Newshour. Time now for sports. Prime Minister Narendra Modi lauded the Indian hockey team after they clinched first ever bronze medal at the FIH Hockey Men's Junior World Cup 2025. Prime Minister on X says, and I quote, "Congratulations to our men's junior hockey team on scripting history at the FIH Hockey Men's Junior World Cup 2025. Our young and spirited team has secured India's first ever bronze medal at this prestigious tournament. This incredible achievement inspires countless youngsters across the nation." Unquote. India's eastern city of Kolkata is gearing up for a grand celebration as the city readies to welcome Argentina football icon Lionel Messi on Friday. Argentina Football Fan Club Kolkata has created a striking tribute replicating Messi's Miami home with the statue's terracotta tiled roofs and life-size cutouts of the footballer and his family. The organizers have designed the exterior to resemble Messi's Miami mansion, while interior has been transformed into a museum celebrating his illustrious career. A 70-foot iron statue of the football icon, claimed as the biggest ever made of the Argentina superstar, will also be unveiled in the city. The statue shows Messi holding the FIFA World Cup trophy. Messi is slated to inaugurate the statue. Football crazy city. Two-time Olympics medalist PV Sindhu, Lakshya Sen and the star pair of Satvik Sairaj, Ranika Reddy, Chirag Shetty will headline Indian squad for the Badminton Asia Team Championship in China next year. Sen will be the top-ranked men's singles player in the squad, which also features Kidambi Srikanth, HS Pranoy, US Open winner Ayush Shetty and Tarun Manipalli. In the women's category, Sindhu will be supported by World Junior Championship silver medalists Tanvi Sharma, Unnati Huda, Rakshita Shri, Santosh Ramraj and Malvika Basod. Satvik Chirag will be leading the doubles unit along with Sai Pratik and Prithvi Krishnamurthy Roy, as well as Hariharan Sakunan, India defending champions in the women's category of the competition, whereas the men's team had won 2 bronze medals in the past. The tournament will take place in Qingdao City from 3rd to 8th February. West Indies trail New Zealand by 41 runs in their second innings at the end of day 2 of the second test in Wellington. After bowling out West Indies for 205 in first innings, New Zealand posted 278 before being all out in the final session of day 2 at the Basin Reserve. Devon Conway led the New Zealand innings with 60-run knock, while debutant Mitchell Hay smashed his maiden 50 to help New Zealand take 73-run lead. For the Windies, Anderson Phillips took 3 wickets, while Kemar Roach ended up with 2 wickets. Batting again, West Indies lost 2 quick wickets before the end of play at 32 for 2 down. Organisers of the 2026 Winter Olympics have sold nearly 70% of the tickets less than 2 months before the opening ceremony. A total of 1.4 million tickets were issued for the Games, with close to 1 million sold and 250,000 issued for Paralympics. The Games torch relay for Olympics started last week, with the flame being carried across the country to shore up enthusiasm. Olympic Games Executive Director Christophe Duby said he hoped the relay would boost sales, especially for Paralympics. And that's all for this edition of DD India Newshour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan this QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Newshour. Namaskar.